Arnie, the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. Chronic Geeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, what's up? This is Weigh In Wednesday. We are Grown A Geeks. You are awesome for being here. What's going on, people? A lot of stuff in the news. We're going to be talking about the Superman Legacy casting, the information we've seen about Deadpool, Wolverine. We'll be talking about movie reviewers and what they got on their mind, what they be talking about. I will probably have some people join me. If not, you will join me. And if no one joins me, I'll just run my mouth. That's what I do. Get to geek out, get to talk about some cool stuff, and we will keep it live in the chat. So anybody who joins in and chats, of course, your comments show up on screen. And that will allow you to be a part of the conversation. So go ahead and cut the music. Do like Wild Out DJ D-Rock, cut the beat. So what's going on, people? How y'all doing tonight? Let's see if we can get some folks up in here and see what they're talking about. And have some people see what we got happening. All righty. So I will probably just share the screen with some of the different articles, some of the stuff that's out there so that we can all take part and look and see what's what. And if it turns out somehow, for some reason, I'm by myself, who knows? Maybe we'll play some games and we'll turn this Weigh In Wednesday into a live gaming session, because that's another thing that I've been doing lately. I've just hopped in, done some games. But we will enjoy. So let's get right to it. I'm going to pull up the Facebook group. If you're not a part of the group, be sure to click that QR code there, right there in the corner, and that will allow you to find our Facebook group. We will be pulling some comments and discussions from that, just because that makes for interesting content as well. So the QR code is right there available for you, and we're going to switch that back to the GAG logo for just a bit. What do we got here? There. All righty. So looking at the most recent article, there was, I'm going to pull this one up because this is a great image and it kind of shows. Let's start with the James Gunn casting for Superman Legacy. Hey, what's going on? Appreciate you. We got two. You know what? We won't say the name of the person lurking from work, but I thank you for being here. It's just going to say Facebook user, so that works out. And the co-host is here. Didn't leave me hanging after all. Gave me a bunch of topics he wanted to talk about, and I knew he was coming. I wasn't worried about it. I was just going to sit here and ramble till he got here. Welcome.
What up? My bad. What up? My bad. I was getting right.
No problem. No problem. No problem. I was I got my get right juice right here. So we can
Yeah,
we
be
can talk a
right
little
together.
trash about some of the stuff that's coming out and just give our takes, give our opinions, and say what we think about it, and maybe have
Yeah,
some
man.
in-depth discussion as to the good, the bad, the interesting. Um, I was going to start with the James Gunn Superman Legacy casting. Got it pulled up here just because that's an interesting one.
Yeah, we could talk about that. We making we making some strange choices, James.
So I'm gonna pull the casting because I've got a nice. Oh, wrong screen. I've got some
Strange
nice
choices, James.
images ready to go. Oh, boom. Boom.
Honestly, like I feel like while you pulling that up, let me just launch into like one tirade that I didn't say I wanted to talk about. And I feel like we talked about it before, but like the spoiler culture, right?
Right.
I wish that there was some way to just put like I know you can like mute keywords, but I gotta do that for every movie, everything that come out. I just wish there was like a way where I could just be like, I don't want to know stuff. So like take me to the take me to the internet of people who don't want to know all this stuff like beforehand. Because I never want to be that person like in a group or like on Twitter who's like, why y'all spoiling everything? But sometimes I'm just like, man, do we need to know like all this beforehand and like create expectations? Like when we really first started with the MCU, I think we were not quite into the the commodification of that spoiler information quite yet because we hadn't really built anything cohesive yet. So there was not really anything to look forward to except, oh, there's a new Batman movie. Like they were filming in Chicago. There's a new this. But now it's like people are trying to like sell information on all this stuff beforehand. And it's like, I know all about that with my experience working in licensing and
Right.
like the NDAs that I've had to sign and people hitting me up on Twitter and the group and Facebook, whatever, just trying to get whatever morsel of information. And I'll say, as someone who spent the past probably like 6 or 7 years, well, not past six, but like since the 2 years that I moved back to Georgia, before that, the person who spent the past 6 years knowing everything about all this stuff, like months before it came out because I had to work on it,
Right.
trust me, not knowing is better.
Mm.
Like having the expectation sometimes kills the experience. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times with art, I don't always like showing people, like if I'm making like just like a piece of or a painting, I don't like showing people my sketches because that's not when it's at a place where it's ready to show. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I don't want to have to sit down necessarily beforehand all the time if I'm creating something, not necessarily for myself, but if you're asking me to create something with my spirit in it and with my just like you just asking me to create something, right? Like me having to sit down and explain everything. And now, even if you don't say anything, in my mind, I'm just like thinking about how you received what I showed, whether or not it was ready or not. And it just creates sometimes with art where it's just like, nah, man, you're not meant to see this until it's finished. And then you can decide whether you like it or not. And I'm cool, like everybody else. Like it's fine if once you see the final product, you decide you don't like it. But like even what we're about to do, it's like we have to do it because the information is out and we have feelings and we feel some kind of way about it. But if I could like go back in time 2 days ago to where I didn't know any of this information, and if I had the choice to not know any of this information before seeing the new Superman movie, I would probably choose not to know.
Yeah. I can absolutely understand that. I think the biggest fault of it's a double-edged sword because the internet is king and all the information is there and it gets out. And it used to be a thing where if you got like I mean, we've literally even had to make it a point in the group to be like, if you post spoiler content, of course, you have to put the tag on it so that other people, you don't ruin the experience for them. Because I've gotten to the point, like, I know there's a new Blue Beetle trailer. I'm not going to watch it. The first one was good. It was a sufficient trailer.
Yeah.
It told me what the story's about, what's going to happen, what's going on.
It's like, honestly, bro, if you watch that Blue Beetle trailer and you don't want to see Blue Beetle, you don't fucking want to see Blue Beetle.
Right. You don't have to keep giving. And I think the biggest example of not being able to hold something back is Civil War.
Yes.
Civil War is, for anybody who doesn't understand the context of what we're discussing right now, we had all these trailers for Civil War, and the movie itself had enough hype because it was using the story Civil War. And in my opinion, one of the best, because it has a fantastic writer, but one of the best comics that you can get. And it's such an amazing story. And knowing that was what they were adapting, MCU did a very good job adapting based on the content that had already been presented. We did not need to know Spider-Man was going to show up. And that would have had a moment in the theater that would have erupted. People would have lost their mind because people were losing their mind over the trailer.
But you know what it is? It's like, first of all, a bunch of people were going to go see Captain America Winter Soldier, right? But because the first Captain America solo movie did not perform great, Winter Soldier did, Avengers did. It's kind of like Avengers Age of Ultron did not do that great. They're trying to get weekend one numbers. Like Spider-Man being in it, seeing it without knowing Spider-Man was going to be in it, seeing it without knowing that Ant-Man was going to turn into Giant Man. I got to see the movie 6 months early. So when I saw it, it was still rumors that Spider-Man was in it. And then when he showed up, it was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. And then when he showed up on screen, it was an amazing moment that they ruined by putting in a trailer, because yes, you can still have a reaction of excitement seeing it in the trailer, but it's not the same thing as seeing it in the movie. 1000%. And it diminishes it because now you're just waiting for Spider-Man to show up.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think another example of a time that it worked well, if we go all the way back to Star Wars, when they did the prequels, when episode 2, when Yoda took out his lightsaber, the theater I was in lost their mind.
Yeah.
And by today's standards, that's something that we would have seen in the trailer.
Hell yeah.
And they would have ruined it. And it wouldn't have had the same impact. And, people go into movies now with such, I almost want to say flawed expectations.
People go into movies now having already constructed a version of the movie in their mind based on the information they have. And so and there's not anything inherently wrong with that. But what's wrong with that is when you can't just accept that they didn't make your movie, they made their movie. And you need to be critiquing their movie for what's wrong with it beyond they just didn't do the thing that I wanted them to do. Like there's plenty of times where I see movies and I'm like, I may not have done that myself, but that doesn't mean it was a bad choice because it's not one that I personally would have made. I may not have known about a choice that could do something like that. You know what I mean? It's just like you have to be able to accept the art for what it is and critique from there, not critiquing from your expectations.
And that is very difficult because, as we're about to discuss, all the information is out. And because the information is out, we're going to look, we're going to pass judgment, we're going to discuss it, we're going to talk about it, and we are going to build a version of that movie. And if they don't do the thing I want, some people have a hard time, and that's why I've started.
They already not doing the thing I want.
Right. I mean, I'm able to look at a lot of times, and I look and I say, okay, if I see this, I see that. I try to pull from the library of comic knowledge and say, what could they be doing? Not so much that I'm building a full movie in my head, because I remember when we got and the funny thing is sometimes, there's CGI involved, unfinished edits and things like that. And there's going to be more to it. So when you see these images early, it doesn't always come across the way it's expected to come across. Because I remember when Titans first made their announcement. I was
just gonna say that.
And we were looking, people were looking at Starfire and they were like, what? That's she, and they was getting all up in arms. And then when the show came out, Starfire was one of the best things on the show.
Bro, she looks so goddamn good on that show.
One of the best things on the show, without fail. Definitely one of the reasons I continue watching all
collarbones and clavicles.
You know what I'm saying? And just the way she
purple sparkly jumpsuits,
her lines, the way she delivers her lines, her speech, her dialect. I was when
she do this, when she be talking, she be like,
right. That's every time
your ass.
So I mean, but it was just seeing how people reacted to that initially, and it was these casting. It's one thing when it's casting rumors, and sometimes I can definitely understand, the announcement for who the new Superman's going to be. That's a decent enough casting announcement that kind of I don't know that I would be okay in today's day and age getting all the way through not knowing who the new Superman is.
Oh, hell no. No.
But because all these other people, that's where it kind of becomes interesting because, and we'll use that image. I'll just pull that one up because it's a quick one. So this is where the problem comes in. We start getting into seeing, they definitely can't help it. And it's mostly because they kind of have to do it. We're pulling this one up, and we're pulling this up from the Grown Geeks Facebook group. But yeah, in most cases, they can't help themselves with spoilers and marketing. And it is a marketable thing. By showing those spoilers, people tend to, they can get 5 more people or 5,000 more people into the theater because. But right here, when we look at this and we see these choices, and even if you just announce these people have been attached to the project, and then we can speculate about who they're going to be. That's one thing, but once we have, okay, this is who's going to be in the movie. Just looking at this casting, just knowing that we have a movie with Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, immediately tells me something about this world of Superman Legacy that I would not have gotten until I went to the movie.
Exactly.
And so now.
But also for me, it's what the fuck story are you telling?
There you go.
What is this?
There you go. And so, of course, I have to look at it and say, well, if we have Guy Gardner, because he's the second human Green Lantern, the backup to Hal Jordan for Sector, I think it's 2814, that means Hal Jordan exists in this world. So if Hal Jordan exists in this world, we now have Guy Gardner. Of course, that's going to be all of the
2 white Green Lanterns.
all of the lanterns. But that also means that if we have all of the lanterns, there's always a possibility that we could have some other lanterns. Mr. Terrific, interesting choice. Because
this is how I know we don't have Jon Stewart, because we're going to give you the other black guy.
And see, I didn't want to say it directly, but if we have Mr.
Why not?
Terrific,
they did it.
If we have Mr. Terrific, we probably not getting Jon Stewart. You know what I'm saying?
Hell no.
And Hawkgirl, so it's just when we some interesting choices.
Ambiguous.
So we have here Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl.
Look, this is what I'll say. So see, now this is okay, are we talking Thanagarian Hawkgirl? She knows she an alien? or are we talking Egyptian, like me and John Carter keep getting reincarnated and killed over and over and over throughout time because we don't know who we really are? Like, I'm look from the looks of her, just to be, I guess, you know, just using the eye test, I would say probably the Egyptian story over the like redhead. I know I'm a Thanagarian badass redhead from like Justice League Unlimited. Unless she dyes her hair, which she very well could do.
Absolutely could do it. In either case, I'm not displeased. I'm just curious how having Hawk Girl in this world. The only thing that we can say is that we are not doing an origin story. This is definitely going to fall in the same vein as the Batman. Superman Legacy is going to be an established Superman. He will already have done the thing, announced himself to the world, and he will be existing as Superman. So maybe during the opening credits, we'll see the ship, we'll see the explosion, and we'll get right to the story. And they're starting to do that more and more because I think over the course of 25 movies, it's safe to say that people might be a little bit more comic aware. But I also feel like we've had enough Superman stories at this point, or Superman's been around long enough that people know that general story.
You know what they need to do?
What's that?
What they need to do is, you know how in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans at the beginning, it would just be like webs and then like images of stuff that happened in like either the last movie or whatever turned them into. It's like, yeah, we'll use the credits. We could do an origin recap, or even in the Marvel movies, they do that too, where it's like the opening credits kind of like tell a story about, a character maybe that like we already know their origins and stuff, or we're not gonna we're like jumping into the middle of their story, not starting at the very beginning. Because
and I definitely believe
you can do that for Batman, you can do that for Superman. I think if you recast Wonder Woman, you need to reestablish Themyscira in that world. So I would probably start her at some sort of, even if it's not an origin, she starts on the island. And then,
well, looking at this cast, because we have Hawk Girl, we have. I'm glad to see my man is still getting
justice for Darwin.
Right, justice for Darwin. That, you know what? That's our hashtag. We're gonna throw that in right now. Hashtag justice for Darwin. But
bro, every black person remember where they were when they killed the unkillable black man.
Right, the man whose sole power is the ability to adapt to any situation. He dies.
And then this the crazy part.
Making that much,
This the crazy part. Zoe Kravitz's character, she's black.
I should have said justice for Darwin.
And she watched them kill this black man, and then she switched sides. That don't even make sense.
I mean, you know what? I got to change my hat if I make this next comment, but I got some thoughts and I get it. You know what? I see what they doing out here. Let me
putting the koofies on.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh wait, they killed the unkillable black man. You know what? I don't even know him. We're not together. I wasn't with him. I was just here. Like that. Nonetheless.
Message.
Right. And so, like having Edie come in as Mr. Terrific. So if we have Hot Girl, Mr. Terrific, and we have the Lanterns, there's already going to be an established Justice League. There's already going to be an established community of superheroes. And Superman Legacy, although the story is going to focus on Superman, I do want them to be careful to not do what they did and it's kind of funny because I think back to James Gunn's Suicide Squad, where he had all of these characters in the opening, and then we got down to the core. So it was like, okay, that's all right. You hyped it up.
Yeah, because it's like you hype all this shit up, and then it's like it's a cameo.
Right.
And it's like you hyped it up just because somebody showed up on the IMDb page, but you don't really know what the role is they're going to play in it. But it is kind of just
right.
like
Hit him with the you thought. Oh, you came to see him? Yeah, he not in it.
Yeah, it's
Pete
just
Davidson,
it's
all the
really a
marketing.
weird combination of characters to
It
me.
is.
And
It is.
that's not to say maybe there's more that just hasn't gotten out yet, which is fine with me. I'm gonna try to do my best to like learn as little about this as possible. I mean, I'm already like the Miss Maisel casting. I'm kind of like don't understand that for 2023, but cool, man. Like they got to figure out what they're gonna do with Lois Lane because she's an essential aspect of like grounding the character, and I just feel like so many times she's just done wrong.
She's definitely not been done right. Can agree on
They don't
that.
know how to do the. They don't know how to bat. They don't. I don't think a lot of writers have gotten the balance right of independent, strong, feminist woman who gets saved by Superman. Like I feel like some of the stuff that I've seen with her now is just like she kind of comes off like I'm popping my shit because I know Superman about to come through. Versus like I'm just really trying to uncover the truth. I got myself in a fucked up situation, and
Thank
just so
God Superman's
happens,
available to save me.
right?
And it definitely needs to go back to a whole we need to stop meeting like this kind of situation as opposed to because even on the TV show Superman and Lois, she has like a sonic communicator. The boys have you know what I'm saying? So she just goes in to do whatever, and it's like I'm gonna go do this extremely dangerous thing that no reasonable human would think about doing. But don't worry, I have my communicator. Like that's not how you should.
Operate in
That's a
life
very
ever.
reckless existence, you know, and
Yeah, man.
it's crazy. Um,
And it's like you see also you look at some like a story like Injustice, and it's just like, yeah, that relationship doesn't seem the healthiest. Like you can't you like
yeah,
something bad happened and you decided to conquer the entire world like over her. Like
you just
that's the
snap.
straw. Like that's the straw, your girl.
But Lois.
Yeah, all right. All right, Miss Maisel.
But Lois, because I'm
All
like,
right, Miss Maisel.
and see, and let me just go on record as saying I am not.
I am.
I'm not a fan of the character Lois Lane. Period. I was very happy. New 52, Superman, Wonder Woman. That was where I was like, there we go. That makes sense. The anatomy works. The physiology works. I don't
You know what
understand
I'm
the other
saying?
part.
You breeding them.
I'm just hey, look, I'm keeping it a buck. It does not make sense to me. And then on
Nah, I
top of that,
feel you.
like, with his upbringing and the way his parents raised him and everything, okay, fine. I get that he would want like a nice, sweet girl to settle down with and that whole bit. But and of course it's in all the Elseworld comics and whatnot. But you know what I'm saying? Every issue, every comic where Superman gets with Wonder Woman, the one thing that they have in common is that they are not mortals. They are not humans. And because they are not humans, they have a connection. They have something in common that they know they are set apart. And I think that makes for a much more interesting dynamic. And when they have kids, they kids be much more interesting and much more badass. Now, I have no problem with John Kent. John Kent is a cool ass Superman. I think like the younger, hipper, new Superman character. I like him. I think Tom Taylor's doing a great job with that story run. Um, but that's probably, I'm not gonna say the only good thing that's come from Lois Lane, but just in general, because they always reduce her down to a damsel in distress, she is just there for Superman to have someone to save. And anytime she is not in the relationship with Superman, she is a better written character. And so
Yeah.
I think it is
I
to her
think
benefit.
I think people underestimate I think too much. I think sometimes too much emphasis is placed on the romantic nature of Clark and Lois's relationship, when really I think her role should be his current conduit to like modern society, right? Like
Yeah.
as an alien, as a small, I mean, he's as alien to Metropolis as he is to Earth when he first gets there, and he really is. He's operating off of this truth, justice, American way, small town values. Like
I know they
really,
changed that.
really.
It's no longer
No,
true justice in
I
American
mean, like when we
way.
first,
Right.
but I mean when we first meet him,
Yeah,
American Way, Better Tomorrow, etc., etc. Right? Like that's what he's working off of, and she's here to be like, nah, baby, like that's not what the world is really like. It's what the world could be like, and you know, things have been structured in place to make the world that way for you and for your family and for your people. But when you go out into this great wide world, some of these situations are a little more complicated than stopping the purse snatcher. Like these politics and
Right.
the 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 nuances of humanity
Yeah.
is what she really teaches him about. But if you only write them in love and you only write about, him saving her because he's in love with her,
Super
then yeah,
stalker.
she's a super uninteresting character who ends up really just taking up a lot of space. And it's like, I don't even like having this type of conversation about her because I don't want to be like, you know what I'm saying? You don't be wanting the wrong people to like agree with what you're saying, if you feel what I'm saying.
Right.
But the reality is there are good depictions of Lois Lane out there.
Absolutely.
I think the reality is those depictions are, like you said, ones where the focus is less on their relationship with one another and more on Superman's relationship with humanity and the complexities as explained by Lois. Because she works in the gray area.
Yeah.
He doesn't come in understanding that. He sees Lois as like good, but how can a good person work in gray areas? Like it's either or, there's no in between. And so I think for me, that's really why I like the Margot Kidder, iteration, because she not feeling him like off rip. Like that's some new stuff like everybody has done with Superman. But before it was like, yo, you just like you big, but like you lame.
Right. She just wanted to break the story. She was trying to get her Pulitzer.
Yeah.
She was straight up trying to use Superman. She just wanted the exclusive, wanted to be the first one to tell the story.
Yeah,
it wasn't
no
until
love
later
story. Yeah. So I think like hopefully, James, I think what James Gunn has done with relationships, I have not seen the latest Guardian still, I confess. But even the way like Star-Lord and Gamora's relationship was written, I think like in the first Guardians movie especially, it was like I think he's done a good job of creating women characters who have agency about who they fuck with.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have a whole bunch of issues or trepidation about how he might write Lois Lane, because I think
That's
he's
fair.
going to be respectful of the character. I haven't seen him just like disrespect the character.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think when you do get around to Guardians, I think you'll appreciate it more. And I will say that is one reason I'm not as concerned.
Yeah.
In that part of it, as far as like their relationship, because of course, it's canon, it's comics, they're married, the whole bit. That is his girl, Lois Lane, Superman's girlfriend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you ain't got to be a simp about it.
Right. And
that's what they do.
That's my only
they
concern. That's as long as they don't go that route, we good.
they let his love for Lois turn him into like a simp, and it's like this shit don't make sense, bro.
The simp is a super simp, if you will. So yeah, but it is very interesting casting in general for Legacy. There was an article. Um, Barry Anthony Kerrigan, or no, Anthony Kerrigan from the TV show Barry is being brought on as Metamorpho.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
that too. That's why I'm
and
like, what story are we telling? This like,
like I said, it
it's
has
like
to be.
it feel like you just reached your hand in like
I
a
think it's going
bucket
to
of
be one of
golf
those. You
balls
know
with
what?
different
There's going to be
logos
a
on it.
scene. There's going to be a scene at the Hall of Justice. And when he's in the Hall of Justice or he's on the Watchtower or something like that, he's just going to be walking through the corridor, maybe on a cell phone with Lois or some crap like that. And these are going to be the people in the background or that, he has a quick conversation with, he passes by. Guy Gardner has something smart, some smart comment to say, something like that. I really believe these roles are going to be somewhat smaller. I don't think we're getting this huge story with all
Or
of
is
these
it gonna
heroes.
yeah,
It's
or
not
is it
going to
gonna be like
be.
them
It's not going to be.
before that?
It's not going to be Black Adam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where we have the Justice Society or whatever. I don't think we're getting a Justice League light movie. I don't think he's going the route he did with like Guardians or even with Suicide Squad, where he's trying to do a team up situation. Superman is going out to fight somebody, and these are the people he calls for help. No, that's not how that works. You know what I'm saying? So I think these are just going to be more background
Everybody else in
characters.
the Justice League is dead. It's just us.
There you go. And you know what? That could be the spin. That could be how we get to
Man, you
that
better
point.
not. You better not. That better not be your first Superman movie. It
No,
can't
I mean
be.
if nothing else, of course, trolling Twitter, follow James Gunn, and I did see some of the stuff he had tweeted out, and he was discussing that like Nathan Fillion is now going to be he is Guy Gardner for DCU. He is Guy
That
Gardner for DCU.
seems. That seems like how old is my man? He gotta be like 52.
He's not young. I'll say that. He
That
definitely not
sounds
young.
crazy.
But
Unless
they
we
can.
talk like, because I can't even like that don't even like Guy Gardner don't even sound like he can even slide into like a mentorship role. It's like I'm too old to do it, but you got it, kid.
I
It's like
mean, at no point do I recall. You know what though? Guy Gardner at one point ends up becoming like he's not an anti-hero by any means. He's always been mostly recognized as a hero, but he's also been like a Red Lantern. He had a yellow power ring. Guy Gardner's a very, not going to say complex character, but he's a weird character. And I
yeah,
think the weird part about it for me is Nathan
very
Fillion. I just
because
don't put Nathan Fillion as that type of character. When I
because
like
okay, because I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know a whole bunch about Guy Gardner, but like was isn't the whole thing like he's kind of annoying and people don't like him?
Guy Gardner is essentially an asshole.
Yeah,
He's a
like
he's a
what?
he's a damn good lantern, but he's an asshole.
Yeah,
And
it was like
so,
some movie I was watching. They were like, "What about Guy?" And everybody's like, "No." Like, damn,
right.
what God do to y'all?
I mean, again, he's just one of those characters, and I mean, he's written to be like that type of character. So,
Oh,
I
for
get it,
sure.
and I think it works well. And I think there could have been better casting choices, and even if you had wanted to make Nathan Fillion, who was one of James Gunn's, like that's on his Rolodex, his speed dial. Um,
I
he's got
believe it.
he's got a role he's got to fill. Oh, we'll get Nathan Fillion to do it. Oh, we got to get some mocap. Well, Sean Gunn's doing that. Um, And you know, I don't even hate that because let me come up. I'm bringing some folks with me. Absolutely, they getting jobs. Period.
That's how it should be done, man.
Right, as I'm saying. So I got no problem that he's casting Nathan Fillion. I don't know if that's the character to cast him for. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that's probably my only concern because I don't see the personality, and that would just take some work on Nathan Fillion's part to convince me he can be that kind of character. And if he's a decent enough actor, then sure, why not? But I typically see him more as the charming, charismatic, you know, slightly humorous goofball kind of character. I just don't see him as a Guy
I mean,
Gardner
he's
esque.
basically indie sci-fi's Han Solo. He's
Yeah,
he's like
he's
he's like
scruffy.
he's like not low budget, but like off-brand Harrison Ford, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and it works, and he's great at it, and I have no problem with his other roles when he does that. Like I said, Guy Gardner, don't know that works for me. Um, Also,
That's
I'm
my
still like I'm glad that we have Mr. Terrific just for the diversity in casting and on screen. But there again, Mr. Terrific. Okay, I mean he blew up. I can't even say he blew up, but people might be more familiar because he was on Arrow, and you know what I'm saying, like being part of the Arrowverse. People might be familiar with who that character is. So seeing him on the big screen. But it's not like I wanted them to say like, "Oh, let's get Black Lightning and put," you know. So, you know, I'm okay. But there's some ways that they can do this, and even if they went as far as like, you know, I'm sure he's got some strings he can pull. Make a new DC hero. Um,
nah. We're not there yet.
we're not there.
Do the assignment that we gave you first before you start trying to ask about extra credit.
Gotcha. Well, we have 2 years to wait to see how that assignment plays out, and that's yeah, that's interesting. Again, like the only thing I can say right now is what story are they telling? That's a big question mark because
Yeah.
I have no idea where they are and what they're doing. Only thing I can say for sure that I can tell from looking is, oh, okay, so this is going to be a world with established superheroes. Cool. If that's what it is, that's where we're going. I'll see how it works from there. And as more information comes out, we'll probably discuss it then. Um, Now, here is the next big topic that dropped. Deadpool 3. Uh, we finally got the yellow spandex. Looks more like a leather suit, similar to the same kind of outfit Ryan Reynolds is wearing, you know. Fairly well made combat suit, something favorable for Wolverine to run around in. Um,
My bad. I'm back. I had to get something to drink.
nah, you good.
My throat was.
So let me go ahead and bring this one up on screen. Hugh Jackman, the yellow costume. Because I know how much you love this outfit. Hugh Jackman. Make that a little bigger so everybody can see. Um, yeah, there it is. There it is. There's Hugh Jackman in the yellow costume. And I'm guessing, like initially when I kind of looked at the pictures, I thought that was I could not pick out the blue highlights. I went back and kind of looked at it again, saw some other stills, and
Yeah.
someone, matter of fact, I think it's a Dark Wolf Pack. Follow him on TikTok. It's Gamer Dad Matt. on TikTok, and it's gamer_dad_Matt. But check him out on TikTok. Puts out a lot of videos. He actually had the video footage that they showed, and I got a chance to see that, and it was, it was just um, some early stuff, some early footage. Looks like there's still going to be some CGI that has to be done. Of course, you can see the wire work that's taking place, so it's definitely some behind the scenes footage, whatnot. But I'm decently excited for this. I don't hate this outfit. I can't say that I love it, but it seems fitting for that world. It seems fitting for what we've had on coming from. Oh, no problem, man. It seems fitting for what we've gotten from Deadpool, and I think it is. It's accurate. I think as far as the comics go,
there's one major problem with this costume.
Talk to me. What's the major problem with the costume?
The sleeves.
The sleeves.
The Wolverine costume does not have sleeves.
I like, even just for you, because of your comment, I went and found the inspiration, and this is what it
that's
should
his
be.
Arms. That's
right.
his arms.
Right. This is what it should be. This is what it is.
Yeah. And now, it's like, in all honesty, it looks fine. It's like nothing to like really complain about. I'm sure it'll probably look better on screen, like with the helmet and when they do all the color grading and everything like that. I think that for me, it shows that whoever is in charge over there really understands that the 90s nostalgia look is what people want from X-Men. Like, that is most people's entry point into the franchise, and for some reason every single movie visually seems to try to skirt away from that as much as possible, even as much as like giving us that huge tease at the end of I want to say Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
When they went into the little thing and everybody had on like a version of like their 90s cartoon costume, but they were like all in the dark, and then you came back the next movie and nobody was wearing any of those outfits. We all wearing big yellow X suits. Like, cut that shit out, bruh. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, the whole thing with X-Men for me was that outside of like the X badge, you got to really just be yourself and express yourself, and that lent itself to like the variety within like the mutant community as a whole, I think. And honestly, everybody, well, most people should know that, it is a black allegory. It is a story about that was developed originally about kind of as an allegory for the racism and mistreatment of black people in America, and two opposing ideologies about how black people should respond to that treatment. And I think even some of that messaging, it's going to be very interesting to see how much of that remains when X-Men fully crosses over. But I think that 90s entry point, for some reason, visually, they've just been running from it. And it's like, you can't run from that, man. That's what people want. That's what gets the people going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think even the fact that they're making an attempt at it finally, I respect it. I've never, I'm in the extreme minority that's never really been a huge Hugh Jackman fan as Wolverine, but that's more about how they use Wolverine overall. It's like this central focus on a story that should be very like team focused, in my opinion.
Right.
But all in all, I'm excited. I'm excited for one more step towards X-Men joining. I really hope what this does not do is make people be like, why don't we just, come on, Hugh. We already got the suit, Hugh. You fit it. Let's just come on. Come on, Hugh. Just come on
three
back.
more, just 3 more movies, and we'll shoot them all together.
Because you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna try to turn him into the new what's his name? Robert Downey Jr.
Nah. I mean, honestly, I think in this case, I truly believe I don't know how many more Wolverines Hugh Jackman got in him.
That's what they said after the last Wolverine.
No.
We are.
After Logan, well, see, the thing is, when he said he wasn't going to do it after Logan, he said he was done. He was hanging up the claws, so to speak. He had also stated that the condition required for him to come back would be Marvel would have to take over. And now that's where we are. Well, and see, and so I think it's justified that we have it here. But to get 3 more or 2 more from him, nah. I think if anything, that'll just end up being Wolverine cameos and some time hopping stories or something like that. But I mean, since we've already done Days of Future Past, unless they're gonna redo Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past is not even a Wolverine story. Like that's
right.
What I'm saying.
No.
Like,
but I'm saying that just any situation where Wolverine can exist in more than one place. We could have old Wolverine. The only other way that it works, and I hate that I'm saying this out loud because if I see it and I don't get credit for it, I'd be a little pissed. So we got to write this treatment up. If they adapt Old Man Logan at this point, because the Logan story, no, just the Logan story was not Old Man Logan.
I'm not saying that, but why are we introducing the X-Men and starting at the end?
No. This is simply for the only way I'm like okay with Hugh Jackman continuing to be Wolverine. I'm good with Hugh Jackman doing this movie. I don't necessarily need him here. Now that might be the hot take, but I'm with you. I'm okay with Hugh Jackman being Wolverine because Hugh Jackman is the only person that's ever damn been Wolverine. I had an opportunity to see nobody else be Wolverine, so I guess I'm okay with Hugh Jackman.
Chance.
Right, I guess I'm okay with Hugh Jackman being Wolverine because ain't nobody else ever did it. But
I love the chance to see it though.
But if anybody else want to get out there and do it and give us another version that ain't 6-something feet tall and slim, I want a short, stocky dude yelling "bub" and looking pissed off all the time. I don't want pretty boy Hugh Jackman being the face of the franchise for X-Men. But so I'm with you there. I do want to pop this up because you mentioned the helmet, and now this is I am like 100% certain this is Photoshop.
It is because there's
just because I'm looking at that helmet and I'm like that helmet.
But like that's what I'm talking about. Like you so desperate to just be the person that got the helmet first that you just gonna make something up. Unless it was somebody who was like, I'm a designer, I'm doing like a little concept thing, like here I put this together. But like,
what's the guy that always does the? I
know who you're talking about. He's from Australia.
He's the artist. Somebody help me out in the chat. He's the artist that always, whenever he like draws something, it's almost like he gets the inside scoop. He gets the behind the scenes. He normally draws an image, puts something out there, and lo and behold, the shit mysteriously shows up in a movie or something later. But he does a lot of concept art. And welcome to the chat. We got a guest coming in. Let me move this out the way. We are bringing on Gamer Dad Matt. What's going on, man?
Hey, how is it going?
Going pretty good.
Sorry for popping in like this. I had an issue to figure out, but I was listening to you guys talk about Deadpool 3 and how you feel about Wolverine and everything, and I just wanted to quick say something.
Okay.
In regards to Old Man Logan, I think they very well could treat Hugh Jackman like that. They introduce him as an old man, while also introducing a young new actor at the same time. Because if you remember when the 616 Wolverine died in the comics, Marvel pulled Old Man Logan out to replace him. They could do something kind of like that, to where the main 616 Logan might be just out doing his own thing, right? While in the meantime, we get Hugh Jackman to fill in the role for maybe a movie or two.
Well, and the funny thing is, given some of the other, and again, as we're talking with the internet, the casting information gets released. We know people that are going to be in it. Given some of the other names that are attached to Deadpool 3, I'm wondering if it's also going to be kind of a, I won't say a full multiverse, but like, since everybody's getting on the multiverse hype train right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had a lot of multiverse movies. I mean, I remember going all the way back when we had The One, and that was, Jet Li in the multiverse, and he had to go and kill basically all his variants to get all the power. So
That movie was a trip.
and see, back then it was like such a crazy concept. Fast forward, now we have everything everywhere all at once. Another version of that same kind of story with, string theory, multiverse, and all that. If we look at something like this, we know that Jennifer Garner's reprising her role as Elektra, and it's like, I don't necessarily know where that fits. I don't know where that fits in a Deadpool story.
You got
directly.
me.
But I wouldn't be shocked if we, you know what? I would love to be surprised and have Ben Affleck show up as Matt Murdock. If we're going to bring Jennifer Garner, why the hell not? You know what I'm saying?
I've heard rumors that he was supposed to be in it, though.
And so, of course, it kind of makes me wonder, looking at this and seeing the arguments and seeing that crumbling fox in the background of the image.
Mm-hmm.
I've been online. I've seen some stuff, heard some people talking. Could it be Deadpool kills the Fox universe?
I've heard that too. From a couple people like Strawhat Goofy on TikTok.
Yeah, and of course it was just the idea being that there's a comic that exists. Deadpool kills the Marvel universe, and he goes through and he wipes out everybody. He figures out a way to kill everybody. And these two would probably be the two who would have the most difficulty in outdoing one another. I mean, in order for Deadpool to actually kill Wolverine, he has to have that special sword. And that's about the only thing that's going to do it. And as long as Deadpool has a drop of blood, he'll pretty much regenerate himself. So these two going back and forth like this, I could see them being the last two walking away from a crumbling Fox because everyone else has been taken out. And if we have all these other people who are from this Fox cinematic universe, we start getting some of the other X-Men to come in as their cameos and whatnot as they come in, get offed. And it's exactly the kind of thing that Ryan Reynolds would do.
Mm-hmm.
It fits perfectly for the comedy. Now, Deadpool doesn't look quite as beat up as I would expect him to be at the end of that. So if we have to go by the still image, if we just have to go by, and mind you, this is the photoshopped image, but even in the other images that have Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together, it's still the same, general picture of the two of them like that. I don't know at what point this would take place. So that's something that's a little early to speculate, but I think it holds a little bit of water. And I'm curious to see how they do that. Having Logan come back as the only way they can truly do well, you know what? So Marvel's Wastelanders. You familiar with that, Matt?
Not as much as I should be.
Okay. So when you have you take the world that exists from Old Man Logan.
Yes.
There was a Hawkeye spinoff in the same universe, same time frame. It's after the heroes have died and all the villains have split up the different areas. Hulk owns pretty much the entire West Coast. Kingpin has a section. I want to say, I think it was Venom had an area. Mysterio had some space. And
doesn't the Old Man Hawkeye take place maybe 10 years before the Old Man Logan book?
It does.
Okay. And so I am thinking about the right story.
And so Marvel Wastelanders, it kind of shows what happened after the day the heroes fell and all of that. They have an audio podcast that's out. There's some comics that are out for it. It's great stuff. That would be a way that they could probably start trying to introduce, if they're going to bring Logan back if they're going to bring Hugh Jackman back for anything along those lines, we still got to get Hulk in the story. I don't think ScarJo's coming back. And now that it's, owned by Marvel, until Marvel gets the rights to the Incredible Hulk, you can't properly do an Old Man Logan story, and I don't want them to touch it.
I do agree with that. Though I had another just random theory that they could possibly do tying in with Old Man Logan. Did you read the Weapon H storyline?
Weapon H. That was
basically a Hulk with Wolverine like claws and
he had
the
big things coming out of him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So in Weapon H, there were these cyborgs going loose, hunting down everyone that was tied to Weapon Plus, including Logan, Sabretooth. I want to say
Red. They had the
yeah,
Lady Deathstrike.
Yes. Yes.
What's the guy's name? It's like both of his arms are all adamantium. But yeah, I'm familiar. They're trying to take everybody out who was a part of any of those programs.
Yeah, but so in the MCU, unless they pull a fast one on us, I don't see Bruce Banner's Hulk becoming super enraged. What the fans want. You know what I mean? Right. But we could still get an awesome Hulk movie through Weapon H, which would also give us the long-awaited Wolverine versus Hulk.
Not until they recast Hulk. I mean, not Hulk, but not until Hulk too, because Mark Ruffalo coming back to do that. But I mean, most of his work is CGI, so that could still work out. If he ends up,
well, heck, it wouldn't even have to be Mark Ruffalo. It wouldn't even have to be Mark Ruffalo, because if I remember right, Weapon H was just grown in a lab, so they could get someone completely different to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Dr. Cho, so they could always go that route and switch it up the way they want to. They've done a decent enough job establishing their own world that they can venture off enough to do what they want to do when they want to do it. So there's a lot of different ways that could go. I'm good with recasting Wolverine, though. Like, at the end of the day, Hugh Jackman, thank you for your service. Many
17 plus years of it.
Many years of Wolverine on screen. He helped, to some degree, he helped keep comic book movies alive so that we could get around to some of these other ones. Because I'm sure people went to go see some movies simply because Hugh Jackman was in it. And then, you fast forward, MCU gets established, it does its thing. And now he's able to kind of like sit back and relax and not have to be so in the foreground. The Wolverine does exist. So not all of them were great, but but for the most part, again, I can't really have a problem with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because who else has done it?
Exactly.
Exactly. Who else has done it? And there was always the perfect casting for it, but it's such a tragic thing. There was a wrestler who would have been perfect, and it's a tragedy. We're not going.
We don't even have to go there.
But dang, man, I hate that went down like that because such a missed opportunity.
I think honestly, like, I'm very curious to see how they're gonna write the X-Men in the MCU in general, because like I was saying before, I feel like one of the big mistakes was just like, even though like everybody in the world like thinks Wolverine is like the coolest X-Men, every X-Men story does not revolve around Wolverine. You know what I mean? And in the movies, they made everything revolve around Wolverine to the point where it's like, well, damn, like it's like 7 Wolverine movies.
This is
You know what
not
I'm
the
saying?
Xavier School for the Gifted. It's Wolverine's hideout when he's not
Yeah,
out
like
having his own.
sometimes Wolverine just shows up and just slices people up, but he don't actually have anything to do with advancing the emotional stakes or the plot in any way. And until they're ready to tell those kinds of stories in X-Men, and not just like separate movies where they off by themselves. Like the fact that, like, I'll bring up Days of the Future's Past again. The fact that they felt like they couldn't tell that story with Kitty Pryde going back in time. Ellen Page at the time, now Elliot Page, but Ellen Page at the time. I mean, we're talking about an accomplished actress.
Yeah.
You know what I
Who
mean?
absolutely could have carried that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so the story itself is damn good.
Yeah.
For them to butcher it. And that's another gripe. And of course, it's one of those things where it's like, it's really funny because when you look at something and you say, like, you know, oh, I read the book and the book is better. I mean, the book is always going to be better than the movie.
Naturally.
Just because there's more opportunity to expand, and you can fill in the gaps in your mind much better than someone showing you something. And if it takes 3 pages to describe the water, that's because the water is pretty damn important in the book. But when you just see the ripples over there, it's just water in a movie because there's so much visual overload. The stimulus is lost, and that's why they have like panning shots and zoom ins and things like that. And you know what I'm saying? You have so many Chekhov's guns in movies where they show you something, and of course, I'm not going to say my mind is trained, but watching movies the way we watch movies, I see so much stuff, and I make it like if I see something and I'm like, wait, rewind. What was that in the corner? I know I saw that. Why did they show that? Okay, I'm looking for that now. And the rest of the movie, I'm like, where's the thing? You showed me the thing and you didn't do the thing. Now I'm upset. And so when I think about some of these comic stories that I've read that are good stories by themselves, the way that they are, sometimes I understand that you have to adapt certain things for film. You have to adjust the story in order to be able to put it on a screen, because these 3 pages are like 20 seconds of dialogue. Because all you have to do is put all the pieces on the set and then record the people having the conversation. And when they reach over and touch something or grab something, that's it. That's 5 pages of book that just happened in 10 seconds. So I get the necessity to adapt things. But when they start just changing the story to the point where it's no longer the original story, then I start getting a little perturbed. You know what I'm saying? And one of the first things, this is always going to be my stance on this, and it's never going to change. I get it, but I'm still mad about it. We talked about it earlier. Civil War. I get why Civil War was the way it was in the movie. But
it could have been so much bigger. Oh my gosh, it should have been bigger.
And the only reason it wasn't bigger is because we only know
it wasn't that far yet.
Well, we only know about the Avengers. Ultimately, for this movie, when it took place, we only know about the 10 heroes that were on screen. That's it. And for all intents and purposes, those are the only 10 heroes that exist. That's it. There's nobody else. And so we have to accept that was it.
And it's a shame because when the MCU first started, it was fully intended to have multiple studios, coming together, like Fox and Universal, to build an even bigger universe. But studios want to do what studios do best and argue, and no one could get along with Disney. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, technically the Netflix guys, with Daredevil and Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones could have been in Civil War, because correct me if I'm wrong, the shows directly reference events that happened in the Avengers movies and stuff.
So it was a It was a one-way street, not a two-way street. In the TV shows, they do talk about the battle in Harlem,
Hmm.
which of course references the Hulk. There was multiple references to, like in Luke Cage, they talked about the weapons and whatnot, and they name dropped Stark Industries. Um, they made references. You never heard the name Iron Man. You
In
never heard the name Thor. You know,
in
but they
Daredevil, they
alluded.
referenced the in Daredevil they referenced the New York attack
Yeah,
from
the
Yeah,
attack
The
in New
First
York,
Avengers.
and
and I
so
think in Luke Cage he even referenced the Wrath.
yeah, so but the MCU never referenced the street level heroes.
Now you're right about that.
And because the MCU never referenced the street level heroes, it wasn't until we got Peter Parker. What's up, guys? Like, that was the first time we had a crossover. Because even if you think about it, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when Coulson did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., everybody who exists from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's a ton of heroes there that
Ghost Rider.
that would have kind of been unbalanced. But that also explains why we didn't have Hulk or Thor because and oh my god, that because having Tony Stark make an AI Thor to fight against the heroes and
That
Thor
would have been
finding out
cool.
about it and losing his shit because you don't mock a guy. Oh, come bro. Like, but anyway, that
That was
goes
one of the coolest things that happened post Civil War. When Thor, like the first thing that happened when Thor got back, he brought Asgard with him and he visited Tony, and it wasn't pretty.
yeah. And so I mean, like, it's such a big story. At the time they got around to doing it, the feeling, the spirit of the comic book was there, so I enjoy it, and
Oh
I
yeah.
still like it, and I still got my splash page of the Shield and the Repulsors going together. Um,
And eventually, you got your giant scene with 5 million people on the screen fighting at one time.
I
And
Hmm.
did.
like I said, like I say, that that was worth it to wait in that moment. And I think for what Civil War did not have, we have to talk about the things that it did have, which is an amazing debut from Black Panther. Like, not a lot of people get to come in and like go toe to toe with Winter Soldier and Captain America and like honestly like kind of beat the shit out of both of them. And like it's one of those where it's like if the police had not shown up, it would have
Right.
been a
Oh
wrap
man,
for
there ain't
your
no telling
boys.
how that fight would have gone.
So, you know what I'm saying? I think like it has that, obviously the Spider-Man introduction, the Giant Man introduction, like really setting off the events that lead to all of the tension and emotion that has us invested when we get to Infinity War and when we get to Endgame. All those relationships that are getting repaired were fractured in Civil War. And
Right.
so, yeah, we don't have 20 million people and we don't have Lawrence Fishburne's Goliath, falling on the battlefield and all that stuff. And I get it. We didn't get the press conference with Peter Parker. They alluded to that slightly, but we
Right. It's
didn't
like
get that.
and there you go.
And it's like, you know what? It's okay. We still here.
Right. And like
And
I
we
said,
got
the
and we
the spirit of the comic exists. And I
yeah.
will be the first one to admit that. And that's why the movie is still successful. And that's why I can still say I like that movie.
Yeah. Because
Because even with the
essentially like
Sokovia Accords
civil
was
yeah.
pretty much the Superhero Registration Act. It was a giant explosion. People got killed that shouldn't have got killed, and it made them look so the elements were in place and they connected the same dots. They
Yeah.
connected 5 dots instead of 50, but you gotta
Because
you gotta
essentially
take the
this
steps you can take.
essentially the Marvel Civil War story is what happens when the heroes can't agree.
Who
And
watches the
so
Watchmen?
maybe this was not the comic Civil War, but this is our MCU. These are all the characters we have. These are all the relationships that we've established. This is their Civil War. And so that goes back to like what we were talking about, where you can actually enjoy Civil War because you have the ability to separate the movie you want from the movie they made.
That
Like
was the
you
movie
have
that
the
was up
movie
here
you
that
want.
time.
Yeah, you have the movie you want, and that's cool. But you can still look at the movie they made and be like, you know what, it's good. I fuck with it. And these are the things
Absolutely.
that they did well, and the things that they did right. And that's for me. That's really the balance. That's all the balance that I want in that conversation. As soon as somebody posts that image and been like, what Civil War in the comics was versus what it was in the movie, it's like, all right, bro.
We still got a really awesome movie. You know, it's like
really did. Let's see. There was a. It's funny. I've skipped over this. I watched this. I'm just scrolling through to see if there were any other articles because I know Jeff wanted to get into movie reviewers, and
yeah, man,
computer's freaking out here. There we go. I wanted to pull. Why is it still scrolling? There we go.
And not even just movie reviewers, but also like award show voters, award shows, etc., etc. Like all this is
overrated.
connected, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a. Let's see. Now this one is another image. It doesn't have the. Oh yeah, that one doesn't have the logo in the background, but we do see the logo in some other ones. But I think that's all the movie announcements I wanted to do today. So when you have, well, Jeff, I'll let you lead this one. How did you want to approach this conversation?
No, I've just been thinking a lot about like perspective, right? So like I had a conversation on Twitter with someone one day. It was like I was just chatting with comic book artist Patch Zerker and another person. It was just like a random conversation about Superman, right? And so this person kind of chimed in and was just like, well, I was kind of just talking about some of the things that I felt like, I'm saying, we've had this conversation before on my show Therapy. You guys can check that episode out where we talked about Superman. But I was kind of just talking about some of the things that I feel like could be updated with the character to make him work, because there's an audience of people who read the character and don't necessarily read some of the things that I think a lot of mainstream comic book fans would find as like, yeah, that's what we all think. And it's like, oh, that's how we would all receive that. And it's like, I don't really know like how Atlanta would really feel about like a big flying blue white man who could just do whatever he wanted to do and was like intent on stopping crime. Like I gotta understand like what is your level of like punishment application? Like does the punishment fit the crime in your eyes? Like, how do you see race? And it's like, well, he's an alien, this is the immigrant story. And I'm kind of just like, yeah, but we're not all immigrants, we're not all children of immigrants. And I was kind of explaining, which I have an idea that I'm going to be working on. So I'm making a fan comic just about like what I feel like an interaction between like a character like Static Shock and Superman would actually be like in 2023, because I think your average comic book writer is going to look at that and be like, of course, like he's going to love Superman. Everybody loves Superman. He's a big blue boy scout. And it's just like, I don't know, but I don't know if that's how they're looking at it in Dakota City. You know what I'm saying?
He might read them.
Right. So I think, that kind of has me thinking, about things like, obviously the Emmy nominations came out today. And, a lot of, I've been reading like people's responses to like movie reviews, especially, you do a lot of Why Did I Watch That? But I listened to a podcast called Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood, and they review movies starring or directed by actors or directors of color. And sometimes when they go back and they do ones from like the 90s and the 80s, the reviews are very, very low for these movies that like we in the Black community hold to a high esteem. then you go in and you read the reviews, and it's like this person's not actually reviewing the movie. They're just talking about how the movie like made them feel. Like if you go back and you look at reviews for Eddie Murphy's Boomerang, a lot of the critique in that was just like, it's not believable that like black people have all this money and live this way and not be like doing drugs and shooting each other. It's like you read the interviews and they're like black people with money and just a black people rom-com. There's no white people nowhere, not in the office, not like, and it's like, yeah, man, some people just live life that way. Like they, this is how America is set up. And like, there are people like this who do exist. And there's an audience of people who would like to see that those stories told with people from that way. It's like, I love Boys in the Hood. I love Menace to Society, but every movie about my culture and my people here can't be that or Selma or The Help or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
There seems to oftentimes be this disconnect with the critics when it's like black people living good or black people in a more modern society, but not necessarily fitting into traditional archetypes. And I just kind of got to a place where I was like, you look at some of the Emmy nominations as well, and it's just like, you look at some of the snubs. You're talking about Snowfall getting snubbed, not getting an Emmy nomination in 6 years. You know what I'm saying? You talk about a lot of black shows, and meanwhile, I don't watch Succession. I'm sure it's a great show. Everybody talks about it, but I don't see the logic in 3 people from one show being nominated for Best Actor. If 3 of y'all Best Actor, none of y'all Best Actor.
Right.
Because like you wasn't doing enough to separate from the pack, in my opinion. You should be able to look at a show and be like, this is who we putting up for Best Actor. And keep it pushing. But it's like you sit around and you look at percentages of the Emmy nomination demographics and the people who are in the Academy, and it's like, well, of course these movies is not going to get nominated. Of course these shows is not going to get nominated. You asking people who have very, very minimal contact and cultural reference points with people who are making these movies and starring in these movies and seeing and supporting these movies. But nobody's going to just be able to, nobody has the confidence to just be like, you know what? I'm going to be real with you. I don't spend enough time around black people to fully understand this movie. You know what I'm saying? Like Sam, like you work with white people. I worked with white people, and it's like the cultural touch points that we use in conversation there's so many, like, you're not talking about a different world just like randomly in the break room at work, because it's like now you got to explain what a different world is. Now you got to explain what Amen is. You got to explain who Lionel Jefferson is. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, we'll just talk about The Office and Friends and Parks and Rec, and like, it's cool. I can hang in some of those conversations. I'm also cool just like not talking. But then it's just like, well, I watched Insecure and I just really did. It's like, you know why you didn't get it? And that's okay. Because there's stuff I watch that I don't get. I don't get Friends. Like I really don't get it. And that's not because it's white, because there's white shows that I love. I love Frasier. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's like Whole Foods white bread.
Hey, look, quick on the Friends. I also don't get it. My wife made me watch it, and I was falling asleep through the entire show. So I'm in the same boat with you there, man.
it's so whack, man.
All I can say is they were on a break. My man was free to do what he wanted to do. End of story. Like, yeah, was on a break.
It's just one of those things where I guess I just wanted to talk about just like the idea of like critiquing a critique, right? And like for me, like critique is like big. I went to art school, so I have like I have a very rigid idea of like what critique is, because when you're in a critique, you're critiquing based on like also your own experience. Everybody in the class did the project, right? So everybody in the class has to stand up. Like we all know what the parameters are. We all had the same parameters. We've all had probably the same schooling and instruction up until that point, because a lot of art school is about forgetting whatever the fuck you think you learned in high school and learning the real way to do it in college. So pretty much, even if you have like different talent, like everybody's starting very, very close to like the same point, or everybody's starting behind where they thought they came in for the most part. Okay. And so when you stand up in front of a classroom full of people who, I've done this assignment, they have also done this assignment. So when they're talking about my assignment, they're speaking about it from a place of like, no, we all have taken the same drawing classes. We've all have taken, like, we've drawn the same models all year. We've drawn the same still lifes all year. We've had the same assignments all year. So when we get to this point, when we're talking about each other's work, it's coming from a place of experience and understanding. You could come in and say however you feel about what you're looking at, but that's not a review or a critique, because the critique part comes in from experience and understanding. You can review 5,000 movies all your life, but if you never even talked to a black person before, do you really think you can sit down and review a movie like Do the Right Thing?
Not accurately.
You know what I'm saying? You will have a perspective of it, but like, a perspective is not a review. A perspective is not a critique, because that's just your feelings about what you're seeing. And that's fine. That's your feelings about what you're seeing based on your experiences, which is valuable. But if part of your experience is not also like rooted in knowledge about whatever is being discussed, whether it be from a technical, so if you a technical person and you like, I used to work in movies and I did DP and this and that and the third, when you review, you know what you should be talking about? DP stuff, the shots, what it looked like, the color and this, that, and the thing, blah, blah. Review it from that perspective, and it's cool. But when you start with the, I didn't really like how this person was talking, it's like, well, you're not a writer. So shut it. Mm-hmm. Like, talk about, and I think that's just, I don't know. It was like eating at me for some reason. I don't know why I wanted to talk about it.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's a very valid point, because it's safe to say that not every movie is for everybody.
Yeah.
Just in a general sense. Like when they, what's the animated one that just came out? There's probably 3 or 4 animated movies right now, which I have no intentions of seeing, no interest in seeing. Doesn't make them bad movies. I'm sure they're great. I've seen Frozen like once. It's on the background when I go to my sister's house, because I got 2 nieces. So I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I didn't know all the songs. I've seen Encanto once. I thought it was a good movie. I was entertained when I saw it. But apparently something's wrong with me, because it wasn't the greatest animated film I've ever watched. And I'm like, hot take, it's a good movie, but maybe it ain't for me. Maybe it ain't my kind of movie.
If you don't have family problems, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, and like I said, there were definitely parts of it that make sense. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be relatable, but every movie is not for everybody. And, you know, I tease my wife all the time, because like, I sometimes, actually, I don't ever forget the uber geek that I am, but I do sometimes forget that everyone around me is not an uber geek also.
I got to remind myself about that too.
I will go and sometimes get so wrapped up in things, especially the stuff that I'm interested in. When we go out and we, you know, like we'll watch the new Marvel or the new Disney or the, you know, new Star Wars or new whatever. We go to the theater and I'm excited and I'm, you know, chomping at the bit to get there. And she's like, yeah, I kind of wanted to see that. And I'm like, you're not excited? And she's like, no, I mean, we can go. Like, I mean, I know we can go. We have the ability to go. Do you want to go? Because if you don't want to go, we don't have. I can do this by myself. Like, and you know, we get to some of those things, and so it's like right now, for example, Secret Invasion. I'm watching Secret Invasion. She watched the first episode, and she was kind of like, "So, what's happening? Why is this?" I was like, "Hold on, I'm sure it gets better." You know, we watched the second episode. I was like, and I was like, "Hey, you want to watch?" She was like, "Yeah, yeah, we can start." You know, and she didn't get through the second episode. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, okay, and I'm online, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, the latest episode," and I'm like, "Oh, that is out." Know what I'm doing, and now I have permission. I don't have to wait. And so it's like I think about it sometimes. If it doesn't catch her attention, is it good? You know what I mean? And it's like because there are some things that they're only good to the geeks. They're only good to the nerds. They're only good to the comic people. And
I
it's
feel that
just not good
100%.
in general. She's
Like
my
when
gauge for that. She's my
It's
meter.
like good is relative, and that's why when I'm talking about critiques, your critique really shouldn't be about if you think the movie is good or, I guess it's like, does it work? You know what I'm saying? It's like, was there a clear like story? Was there a clear
Did the
message?
director
And
tell the
did the
story they were
director,
trying to tell?
yeah, like
Yeah.
what? And if they did not, what was the stumbling block? Was it how it was edited? Was it acting, writing? Like, there's so many things that you can just say that are actually like useful and functional about how to talk about a film that don't necessarily delve into like you trying to expound upon like how you feel about. So it's like that's why you review a movie like The Help, right? I already know what some of them reviews look like because I saw The Help in a movie theater in LA with a bunch of white people in there. And there was this middle-aged white lady sitting next to me. She was probably about 55, 60 years old.
She get up and walk out.
And no, she didn't walk out. She was in there crying at the end.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you in here crying over this fake black lady getting fired, and you ain't. And then it's like that movie gets all this. It had all this hype, and that's why me and my wife really went to go see it because them ain't really the kind of movies I be wanting to see all the time unless I know like a bunch of black people was attached to it. But I was like, oh, Emma Stone's cool. Like, I get it. Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? We'll check it out. We ain't had nothing to do. We used to go to the movies a lot. And I just remember sitting here like, is this movie about the white people? And then it's just like, what are you so sad about at the end for? And it's like, you got your like cathartic moment where you got to cry and feel bad. And then you about to just go out here and reinforce all the same like societal
live your life
issues that are propped up by the actions and things that these people like. You do it in your own way now, but you don't recognize it because it ain't the same thing. And like you feel good because the mean white lady in the movie had to eat a shit pie. It's like, so what?
If you've never been served a shit pie, you're not as bad as her, right? And
right.
To some degree, that's the logic and the mentality that people take. Or there's that automatic like, well, I'm not like that, and
or Green Book. That's another example.
Green
and
Book.
Then it comes
up. That's the driver and the musician.
Yeah. And they made it seem like they was best friends. And then the black dude family had to come out and be like, our family member did not fuck with him like that. He literally just drove him around. They was not friends. They was not cool. They was not driving around teaching each other the secrets of life. He did not teach him how to eat fried chicken. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so you read that and then it's like, but it doesn't matter because the feel-good reviews of how this movie made people feel, even though it's supposed to be portraying something historic that actually happened in real life, you didn't do no sort of looking into how the black people family felt about this and who made it. You just watched it and you felt good, and now it's won an Oscar and everybody like, this is some BS.
Go back to the Netflix show, the Dahmer.
Yeah, same thing.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all these people getting sucked into this story, and the family is like, why are y'all still showing this? Why are y'all glorifying this story?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like you said, the term good is relative. And there are certain things that I don't watch simply because it's not meant for me to watch. That movie was not made with me in mind. I am not the demographic.
Insidious.
My wife loves those movies. And let me tell you, you know how she hooked me? And I got to give my wife some credit on this. I don't know if she researched it, if this was intentional, if she planned this out, but she said the guy from Watchmen is in this movie. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. What's sat down through the whole movie? I was like, yeah, that is Patrick Wilson. Oh, that's the dude from Aquaman too. Da da da. It was like, what? Wait, the hell is going on here? What? Okay, so they're married. Now she got me watching the whole series, and I'm like, and this is tied into the little doll movie. So so they collect the
Not
doll
for
and the
your
dolls,
boy.
you know what I'm saying? Like
your boy is not going. And
so,
my wife knows that.
Yep. And yo, knock, knock, knock. We got another guest. Welcome to the stream. Ty.
What's up?
What's up, man? Ty from Whiskalodian. Be sure to check out the Whiskalodian podcast. What season are we on now?
We are working on 3 right now.
Working on season 3. So check that out. You can find it pretty much anywhere you listen to your podcast, correct?
Yes.
So
Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever.
there you go. So Whiskalodian, a drink-filled rewatching of old Nickelodeon shows. It's a great little series. Definitely want to make sure people check that out. So Ty at Whiskalodian. Ty, what's going on, man?
Wife and baby are asleep. Toddler's asleep. Life with the newborn has been a lot, man. I feel like I've missed out on a lot.
Yeah. I've got adults, so I forget sometimes that could be strenuous and stressful. I could be like, "Hey, come pick me up from the bar." That's where I'm at with it. But I've paid my dues,
And that's a good place to be. Like, I feel like if I could get my kids to just take a beer or something, they'll be good.
Just I get to the point where they can come and pick me up. If you get that far along, you're doing a good job. They're alive and healthy, and that's the important part. So take care of them and love on them. So right now, we had and Mark, this is going to be a quick refresher for you. We got a chance to dive into the Superman Legacy casting. We talked Deadpool 3 and the costume. And now we are talking about how movie reviewers need to be better at their job because
shut the fuck up sometimes.
Yes, so many thoughts. Ooh,
right.
All right.
And so with the movie reviewers. Oh, and by the way, I do apologize. Ty, this is Matt. Matt is a gentleman I fuck with on TikTok. He is hilarious. He has a lot of great comic content and a lot of great.
He's our other token white guy, basically.
Yeah. So, no. Well, you weren't here, sir. But no, honestly, I had already planned to invite him on the show. I'm glad he was able to make it today. And I thought about it. And I think you got your invitation first because I'm like, where the hell you at, Ty? But I know you got a baby, so I hadn't been pressing you. But I'm like, hey, if you ain't busy, man, hop on tonight. Just let's chit chat.
I've missed you guys.
And we've missed having you because we still got to either pick. Have you been watching Steven Universe?
No, I need to do that.
Yeah, you get a little time, or you know what, we could jump right into some X-Men if you want to, because I think that's probably appropriate given that we've got Deadpool 3 right around the corner. That they're going to be talking.
Well, we got the X-Men 97 coming up.
We might as well just go ahead and jump into a fan cast it for X-Men. We'll go back and review the notes and we'll pick which one, or we could just do 1, 2, 3. But then we'd have to come up with a synopsis for the stories.
No, I split it into 2 teams.
Okay, then I'll go back review notes and I'll send it out tomorrow and we can get our casting together. Matt, I'll send you an invite on that one as well. Fan Casted is our series where we pick an IP either for reboot or a movie that might be coming up, or a movie that we just want to do a full remake on, we pick our characters and we cast it. We decide who's going to be what role. Like, good example, we did Back to the Future. We had to come up with casting for Doc Brown, Marty McFly, Biff, the girlfriend.
Parents.
No, the mom and the dad. We did the mom, the dad.
Clearly,
Doc,
the
Marty,
girlfriend does
and
not
Biff.
matter in that series because they switched
She does not. They switched her
She
out,
really
and
don't,
it was.
They switched her out and then left her out.
You know what I'm
She
saying?
didn't even get to go to the Old West.
She and poor thing woke up on her front porch like, dang, Marty just dirty, man. Like, just ain't right. So critiques.
Yes, movie critics. Where are your stances right now?
Well, Jeff has been giving us his understanding of the biggest flaw, and I will say that I agree wholeheartedly that the biggest flaw a lot of times is people's inability to relate to the content they're reviewing. They're not properly critiquing; they're reviewing. They're saying, I didn't understand this, I didn't understand that. They're talking about how they felt about a movie as opposed to whether or not the movie did what the movie was supposed to do. Did the movie? That of course led into.
And I just want to clarify too. There's nothing wrong with talking about how a movie made you feel if you actually understand like the
How
content
you were
in the movie.
supposed to feel.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you like,
Yeah.
well, this made me feel this way, and it's like, well, that made you feel that. Like you take a movie like Spike Lee's He Got Game, right? Some of those reviews for that movie is just like very, very weird, and it's like, well, yeah, you grew up with your dad, so like, I don't get why this movie is actually like super emotional and like heart wrenching, and you don't get why they use like a jazz soundtrack instead of like what you would probably want to hear in a basketball movie in the 90s. It's like you don't get it because you don't get how this stuff just like works in these communities. And so if you're a movie reviewer and you're like I was saying before, if you specialize in like directing photography, talk about how the movie was shot and keep it fucking pushing. If you as a writer and you focus on dialogue and character development, okay, talk about that, keep it moving. But if you can talk about those things and you can also talk about like a realistic portrayal of like of the friction between a black father and son coming out of a situation like that, then I think that aspect of you talking about how the movie made you feel is actually valid, because you're not talking about like, oh, this movie made me feel bad. It's like this movie did a good job of portraying this thing, and I know because it's something that I've seen, and it's something that like I know that these things like work this way, or it made me curious about if things work this way, and I talked to people who had those experiences just to like understand the authenticity used. But it's like if you're an Academy voter and you're some like old white lady from like Texas, of course you think Driving Miss Daisy is better than Do the Right Thing. That don't mean it is.
Well, now we're talking two different things: the Academy Awards and the movie critics. I consider those two separate. And you're absolutely right. To make sure I'm understanding, you're saying that movie critics should take on the roles of writers in the sense that write what you know, talk about what you know. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay.
To a degree, yes. Like I think that you should have a focus, and whether or not you like a movie or not, your critique I don't think that necessarily whether you like a movie or not plays into the critique, because the critique is, in my opinion, look at what the goal of the movie was and did they accomplish that goal. Whether or not you like that is irrelevant in my opinion. Now there's something that you can include, and I think like I've always talked about Wesley Morrison, who is a writer for the New York Times. He's like a Pulitzer Prize winning culture writer, but he came up doing, I think, movie reviews for one of the newspapers in Boston, and then he was on Grantland back in the day, and so he would often write movie reviews about like Avengers movies and stuff. And he's like, I'm not really into this. You know, the story is a little bit muddled, this and blah, 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 blah. But the writer, you know, and I would go see the movie and I would like it. But everything he said about the movie in his review was true. So he's not coming at it from a standpoint of like, it's
he's
like
not
these are
taking
not
it personally.
right. He's like, these are not things that I like, but if you like this kind of stuff, it's all in this movie. And so
you should love it because it's all there.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not there
I can respect that.
whether the movie is good or not. He's there to say, this is what it seems the director or the people who made this movie were trying to accomplish. This is how close they got to that, in my opinion. And then if you want to add in this is not the thing that I typically like, cool. And it changed my mind and now I'm more interested in this genre, or etc. Or he used to kind of do this thing where he would be like, when there were superhero movies that were really good, he would be like, this is like why people keep coming back to these films, because it delivers moments like this or that or blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, he don't give a fuck about Marvel movies for real. Like he be reviewing like crazy indie stuff. And like when I listen to him talk on his podcast, he has like this crazy encyclopedic knowledge of all these old movies and black directors and cultural movies from like overseas and like all kinds of stuff. So it's like, of course you don't want to go see fucking Age of Ultron. But when he was honest about it. And when I read his review, I read his review before I saw the movie. And then when I went to see the movie, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's just I like this more than he does. And keep it pushing. And then I don't have to get on there and be like, how could you say you don't like this movie? And it's like, you don't want to be critiquing the critics, but it's like, man, you don't even sometimes like you don't even understand what you're watching to say.
Yeah. And that's a big thing for me with movie critics, is where they're not considering the demographic. Where it's like, if this movie's not for you, yeah, you're probably not going to like it. But if you can't see past that, you're going to be given, and if people don't have your same taste, they're going to think you're dumb, or they're going to believe you and then not see a movie that they would have enjoyed. So you could take like the Super Mario movie. Is it a work of art? Technically. Did I have a hell of a lot of fun watching it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if I get someone who's sitting there talking about the story, was this and the dialogue, like, if you weren't meant for that target demographic, why are you trying to review it? Unless you're trying to tell people you shouldn't be watching it unless you enjoy this. But they don't consider that. They're just considering my point of view is what's legitimate, which fair, but it's only legitimate to you. So
to me, that's why like they need to look at when the Rotten Tomato thing, like when the audience score be like super high and the critic score be in like the 40s,
because it was the wrong demographic criticizing it.
You're wrong.
Agreed.
Yeah, like you're wrong, and you need to go back and rewatch that movie, and you need to talk to somebody about what they liked about that movie, because we all know how people wield their power on Rotten Tomatoes, and usually it's not for good.
No.
So if a whole bunch of people on the website that literally is basically just designed to like organize hate, agree that something is good, you might want to like rethink everything.
I no longer use Rotten Tomatoes when I want to decide if I want to see a movie.
I never did.
Oh, yeah,
I never did either, but I just
honestly,
who are the Sam? Go ahead.
No. I was about to say, honestly, I've always been very simple in my movie reviews. I typically look up a movie to find out what it's about, and I decide if I want to go see it. And then I have I won't say a select group of friends, but I have friends that I trust to be able to tell me if I need to see it, because we have proven similar taste. And of course, obviously, I'm friends with a lot of people who like to watch movies. So if I know that we agree on these 10 movies and you're like, oh, dude, you got to check this out, you're going to love it, I'm looking forward to that movie. And if somebody's like, I ain't really care for it. You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, there's things like I said earlier, I use my wife as the meter for whether or not something is good. Because I know that I'll go in with the intention to enjoy it and be entertained for 2.5 or 3 hours and won't just feel the need to walk out and be like, this was garbage. This was trash. This. Here are the reasons why you don't need to go see this movie. Don't support it. Okay, well.
And that irks me because at that point, it's like, you told me you didn't like. Tell me what you would have preferred. Tell me what you would have seen. Like, because I've seen plenty of movies. I'm like, you know what? I wish they would have followed through with this arc that they just dropped. I wish they would have done this. It would have made it better. And that at that point, you're offering insight of why something didn't work for you and how you would have improved it. But you're still saying this is what I enjoyed. This is what I got out of it. Because there's plenty of movies where it's just there to be entertaining. Dungeons and Dragons wasn't there to be like challenging your philosophical beliefs. You were there to have a fun time, and it worked.
Yeah.
People
What I was
need
gonna
to learn how to level their expectations.
Yeah.
Yes.
That part.
Because take Transformers, right? Rise of the Beast. There has not been a single Transformers movie that made me go, oh my gosh, I'm going to rethink my life. No, I go in to watch big robots fight. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So I already
watch
know
Bumblebee.
The Godzilla movies. There you go.
You know, whether it's the Michael Bay ones or the new ones, the story, it's going to be whatever. I'm here to watch big robots fight. You know,
As
so I already know.
long as I get Optimus Prime talking about saving the day, like you know what you're going to see. Go see something like that, and if you don't, then you shouldn't be in that theater.
Exactly. You know,
or if you are, have the mindset that hey, this probably won't be for me, but let me see. Why do people like this so much? Like with comedy. Having worked in a comedy club for so many years, I've learned it's like not everyone's going to be my cup of tea in comedy, but I can see why other people enjoy it. I don't, but I see how they do. So I can absolutely recommend. It's like if you tell me you like comedians that bring a lot of energy, even though what they're saying may not be the funniest thing, if what you want is an energetic comedian, I got plenty of options. If what you want is someone who's more subtle, but what they're saying is fucking hilarious, got options. Like it's people don't have that mindset of let me try and give you the best idea of what this is instead of I'm going to tell you I didn't like it and you will listen to me because I have the power. No, you fucking don't. Shut up. So I wanted to ask, who are some movie critics you actually do enjoy that you feel like have something of value to add? For me, it's the Birdman.
I was about to say, honestly, y'all, because I'm at the point where growing up, like about to really date myself here. When Siskel and Ebert had the TV show, my parents would watch that, and my dad has a very unique taste in movies. The movie The Big Chill is like an annual viewing for him. They have to watch that every year. But I was also a kid who was made to write a book report on Uncle Tom's Cabin and Roots. And he wanted to make sure that I had I saw certain stuff. It was required viewing. But then some of these movies that I see that he likes and he watches, and you know what I'm saying? He was the one who was new Indiana Jones movie, we going, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, I'm looking at Indiana Jones now, older, and I'm like, interesting. You wanted to see that. That's very interesting, Dad. Okay. Because it's like knowing what I know. But we used to watch this, he would watch Siskel and Ebert. And so, of course, when I was younger, I thought that if it didn't get 2 thumbs up, it was a bad movie. I didn't know how it worked. And I started getting a little older, and I noticed that all of the stuff that I thought was funny, all the movies that I liked, never got thumbs up. They got 2 thumbs down.
Yeah.
They didn't like the movies. And then, fast forward, and it was just like, well, obviously he don't like the movies I like, or maybe I just don't like good movies or something. I don't know. And I literally stopped caring. And then I started like, my wife, she loves to watch movies, and she would always go to movies with me. And that was, I mean, hell, we've been married 24 years, and we ain't got nothing to do on a Friday. We bored. The kids, we'll go to a movie. What's playing? I don't know. Let's find something. We'll get to the theater and be like, what's playing in the next 20 minutes? Let's go see that. And so it was like we did that for a long time, just random movies as a result.
Is that what started? Why did I watch this?
That is not what started. Why did I watch this? That is actually the bad movie review, because I have no problem hitting like, I go to Netflix and it's like, pick something for me, surprise me. I'll press that shit and watch whatever comes up. And I have this thing, if a movie can get me to watch, say, the first 30 minutes, I will finish the movie. I've watched a lot of bullshit. But I have this thing where it's like, if I start it, I have to see it through. I have to get to the end. I have to know how to fun. And I also like to, I play a little game. Can I figure it out? Can I figure out the movie before it's done? And so, of course, it's like you recognize so many movie tropes and stuff. And I would be watching something. I'd be like, it was that guy. He did it. You know what I'm saying? We get to the end. It's like, see, told you. Like, because remember they showed the one scene, and anytime they do that, it's always that guy. So, and it's at the point now, it's like I only trust people who have similar tastes, because I understand my tastes are very different. I love to laugh. I love to enjoy movies. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't need every movie to be Oscar worthy. I have a friend who literally makes it a point to watch every one of the Best Picture nominees. If a movie gets nominated for Best Picture, automatically goes into a playlist. And he does it because he wants to know what made this movie worthy of Best Picture. And so many times,
live in LA, when I lived in LA, that was like common practice. It was literally like, oh, you haven't seen like the nominees? I'm like, no. I'm not about to watch Silver Linings Playbook. Sorry, dog. Like, I don't care. Like, I really don't care.
But the performance is so good. Whatever.
Based on who? What? No. I mean, like, if I'll go.
It's like, I'm sure it is, but I don't care about this story.
You know what's funny?
And that's a totally fair feeling to have.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Lawrence has probably done 3 or 4 movies semi-recently. Haven't seen one of them. This new one where she's like the girl dating the kid because the parents are paying. I want to see that shit because it looks funny. Yeah. And I would go see that because it's funny. Because it's a stupid college comedy. I would watch that. But
I ain't going to see Joy. I don't care about this lady Mop.
And so it's like, because of that, I've learned to kind of, like, much like
there are too many white women pulling some bullshit. I don't want to watch them on the movies too.
Right. It's just,
you said it.
It's just,
I was picking up what you were vibing with.
I mean, it's just, the honesty is there. It is what it is, When it comes to movie critiques, I really just, I trust the reviews of my peers. I trust the reviews of, and I look at movie reviews the same way I look at like an Amazon review, or like when I go shopping for products.
Mm-hmm.
Does the product do what the product is supposed to do? If you gave it 1 star because your shipping arrived 2 days late, and
I hate those.
This doesn't tell me anything about the product. I need to know which product is the best product to do the thing that I want to do. And so if you're telling me that this product gets 1 star because it arrived and it was cracked, you really think the company sent you broken shit? That's what you think? Are you reviewing the company, the delivery company, or the product?
All of it.
You know what I'm saying? Right, exactly. It's like, I just need to know if this product does this thing. And that's what I feel like with movie reviews happens a lot of times. Like Jeff said, people talk about like, well, I didn't like this part of the movie. Okay. Was the movie good? did it do what it was supposed? Did the movie? If the movie, then I'm still gonna go see the movie because I want to see the movie. And then I realized like I was going to see movies that other people said they did like. I get there, I love it. You know what? I can't trust y'all. I'm gonna just go see what I want to see. And if it sucks afterwards, then okay, it's on me. Hey, like I ain't watched bad movies before, so that'll just be 2 hours I gave to that movie. But guess what? I was not at my house for 2 hours. I was at the movies watching something. So
that also speaks to something because I always bring stuff to food. Matt, you're gonna realize this. For me, if you tell me you don't like something but you've never tried it, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
like that was literally one of my first date questions. It's like, do you like sushi? Yes, cool. If they said no, have you tried it? If they said yes, cool, that's fine. If they said no, never talk to them ever again. Like that's just if you are so unwilling to try something to make sure you don't or do like, I have no time for that. Yeah. And the same thing with movies. Like if you think you could like it and someone has a bad review, but you want to find out for yourself, more power to you. That's the way it should be. Yeah. If you think there's an interest, go. If you have someone you trust and they're telling you no and you trust them, fair. But if you don't trust them, go.
Even some of the times when people tell me something was bad, that just means I'm not going to the theater to watch. I will probably catch that shit later. You know what I'm saying? Like
when it's streaming.
DVD.
Right. It'll eventually be on DVD and now, streaming in 45 days or whatnot. But even then, there have been movies that I didn't go to see because it got a bad review or whatever. And I didn't check it out till it was on TNT. And then I had to go and buy that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like Equilibrium with Christian Bale and Sean Bean and Taye Diggs. The movie got kind of crapped on for a long time, and it was like an underground classic. That is such a good movie. It had some interesting CGI, and it was slow in some parts, but it was a good movie. You know what I'm saying? Way of the Gun. So many people have not even heard of this movie.
I haven't.
Please go see Way of the Gun.
Okay.
That is a fantastic movie. If you've not seen it, that definitely makes like one of my top 5 picks. Did you like Usual Suspects?
I loved it.
You're gonna love Way of the Gun.
Okay, it's on Netflix apparently, so I will absolutely watch it.
And so, I mean, it's just if I've watched some stuff, like I said, I'll catch it on TNT. Movies for guys who like movies, you know what I'm saying? And that would be how I'd watch stuff sometimes. That might be the first time I've ever seen it because it was free and I wasn't charged for it. So, Matt, how do you make your movie decision? Do you have a reviewer that you trust?
So I used to watch this YouTuber named Angry Joe.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of video game reviews, a pretty good amount of movie reviews. And typically I would listen to him if it was something I wasn't sure about. But granted, now I don't really watch anyone. Now, the only thing that I try to look for, like in comments or anything, if anyone says anything along the lines of the immersion will break, right? Because that's the worst thing for me. If I'm into a movie and then all of a sudden something dumb happens and I'm sucked out, hate that. Take what was a good one? Take the first Suicide Squad movie, the bad one.
Okay.
So early
the weird
on,
dancing.
yeah, just when a movie breaks its own logic, I'm sucked out.
Okay.
Early on in the movie, when Amanda Waller is describing the monster things, right? They're like, yeah, you can shoot them in the head and they'll keep going. Well, what happens 5 minutes later? Will Smith jumps on a car, shoots them in the head, and they drop. Apparently, they're not as durable as you think. And how many times were people in a helicopter crash and nobody died? What?
You jump out at the last second.
Yeah, right.
No, I
right.
I absolutely get it. Yeah.
And heck, you also had Harley Quinn beat them in the head with a wooden baseball bat and they died. even though that these are supposed to be super durable things that you can't put down. It's like, huh? Stuff like that will take me out, and I'm just like, well, this is lame. Granted, let's be honest, that entire movie was just terrible, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it had.
Thank
The
God for James
concept
Gunn
had
and his
potential.
Suicide
That's
Squad,
all I
man.
can
That
say.
was beautiful compared to that first one.
Oh yeah. Now that and see, it's funny because that makes me think about like Peacemaker and the TV show. Peacemaker's whole thing was like, and I love that they actually they touched it. And this was one of those things where it's like, this is why like, okay, I got a little faith in Gunn. He might do something because he's obviously pretty good at writing. Peacemaker's thing was, I love peace. And I don't care how many men, women, or children I have to kill to get it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was
And the first opportunity we have to see him kill some children for peace, he can't do it. But they like really played into that. And you know what I'm saying? That would be one of those things where like by default, I would think it would be, well, wait, your whole thing is like you would. And so of course it kind of makes you start to analyze the character and you start getting into it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when I'm watching something, if it's, I don't even want somebody, like to me, that would almost be, I'm not going to say spoiler, but it's like, I don't think I've ever seen a review where somebody was like, the immersion broke. And I guess I'll probably look for something like that now. I usually look for when people say they didn't understand. When people watch movies and they're like, they didn't understand. They couldn't figure out. This didn't make sense. That didn't make sense. Those are the ones that I go in a little bit more cautious because I already know that like some movies are automatically going to get a second viewing just because I know I'm not going to catch everything the first time.
Like Spider-Man.
Exactly. I know I'm not going to catch everything the first time, so I make plans to see it twice. The first time I go simply as a fan. I'm just there to watch the film and enjoy. Now, the second time, because I kind of know what happens here, what happens there, I know, all the surprise moments have been done. Now I can like pay attention. And a lot of times, I will watch it in a manner that I'm able to watch it a little slower, maybe, and pause and rewind and, critique it at my leisure. But
We
I'll
gotta
do
wait
that
till
just
September
so
for Spider-Man to come out on DVD, though. That sucks.
I gotta say something real quick.
What's up?
Jeff, I've missed you, man, but without your hat, you look fucking pissed. Like you're just sitting there just staring, and you don't have your hat, so you don't look inviting. And
sorry, I'm just listening. Nah, because I was thinking about I was thinking about something, just like how I was thinking about just like how why it matters that reviews like need to be and critique. I feel like just like critique of art in general needs to be good. And my case study is always Eddie Murphy, right?
okay.
When I ask people what their favorite Eddie Murphy movie is, a lot of one demographic there's like basically a line of demarcation of when like white people just kind of stopped fucking with Eddie Murphy for a while. And the reality is it's when he started making black movies. So it's like Harlem Nights is really like a cutoff for like a lot of people, like at least more probably my age and Sam's age in terms of like Eddie Murphy movies, because when I've asked a lot of people and the majority, it's like, oh, Beverly Hills Cop for sure, it's his best movie. 48 Hours, like, and you ask black people, it's usually like Coming to America or Harlem Nights or something like that. And even then, when you look at like those films, right? Harlem Nights, Coming to America, Boomerang. That's black to black to black. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like that's like a three-peat for somebody who's coming off of 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Trading Places, Stripes, just whatever other like little weird things that they shoot. Saturday Night Live. For him to hit 89 and do Harlem Nights and then follow that up with Coming to America and then follow that up with Boomerang. And then some of those movies, I think Coming to America was probably a little more well reviewed, but like Harlem Nights was reviewed very poorly. And Boomerang, it was like, it's one of those things where it's like, now people look back and they're like, yeah, Boomerang. But it's like, nah, fam. Like, hey, there's a clip of Eddie Murphy on the Tonight Show talking about how it's unfair that the movie got bad reviews. And one of the writers literally was just like, this world doesn't seem realistic because it's all these black people with money and not a white person in sight. So you gave this movie a bad review because Eddie Murphy is not, you feel like Eddie Murphy's not including you. And then you follow that up with some of the other choices. It's like, all right, Nutty Professor, in my opinion, Eddie Murphy should have been nominated for an Oscar for that movie. Like, he played 12 different people. He had a whole conversation.
He was everybody in the damn movie.
But, you know, that gets into Academy voters and the reviewers as well who play into that and how they view comedy and the respect or lack thereof they have for that craft and the acting that has to take place in that craft. Because 9 times out of 10, when a white actor gains all the weight, puts on a fat suit, prosthetics, loses all the weight, does all this crazy like stuff and gets lost in the character, Daniel Day-Lewis gets lost in the character, Joaquin Phoenix, that is rewarded. Sherman Klump don't look like Eddie Murphy. Sherman Klump don't sound like Eddie Murphy. Sherman Klump don't feel like Eddie Murphy.
Hell,
none of talking about this is the coolest black man on the planet at the time, probably except for maybe Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
He could have walked around the streets as Sherman Klump, like in real life, and nobody would have like known who that was before the movie came out. And then now you multiply that to his role, Buddy Love, completely different character in the movie. We got him playing 2 completely different characters, excelling at both of them. It feels like Buddy Love and Professor Klump, 2 different people. Then we meet his family. Everybody who he plays in his family is a completely different character with completely different motivations, completely different voices. Then you compound on that him acting with himself. Now, I don't know. I feel like I just named a bunch of like very technical things that actors are often rewarded for with nominations and with awards. That because it's the Nutty Professor, we not gonna respect it the same way because it's a crass comedy because it's not even that crass. So then he starts chasing the Oscar. Same thing happened with Will Smith. They start chasing the Oscars. They start chasing these favorable reviews, and they start making different kinds of movies to movies that probably suit them the best. And then on top of that, even when you do something Oscar worthy like Eddie Murphy and Dreamgirls, you're not gonna win it. It's like, thanks for playing the game. Thanks for making all the kind of stuff. So now you've been chasing after accolades. You've been chasing reviews, understandably, but from a group of people who really only want to see you one way, if we want to be real with you. They want 48 hours. They don't want Coming to America. They damn sure don't want Boomerang. They don't want Harlem Nights. Like, they don't want that. They want what they knew. Well, why you changed? Why can't you just be the same old lovable Eddie you were in the? And it's like,
why do you have to make me feel uncomfortable and challenged?
Right. And so I think like a lot of times people just be like, well, you just ignore it. And it's like, you can ignore it, but it's like that kind of stuff does matter, which is how the power structure works in Hollywood. Good reviews matter because good reviews can lead to more people seeing your film, more box office revenue that gives you more leverage to be able to get more roles or create things with your own production companies. But if people are not even in a place where they can understand the art, like if you can't fathom the concept of like black people with money living like a nice life with no drugs or any sort of like hardships like really in sight, and you just watching like this black man navigate dating in New York City, How many white man movies are there like that? It's a lot.
Most rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad Boomerang came around so that Wakanda could run forever.
Exactly. And even that's got to be a fake place. We can't be happy nowhere real, my brother. Hold on, let me go get
Hey,
my
we don't do that here. So you know what? I'm sitting here thinking, and it's like when you look at, you're talking about chasing the Oscar, and I was thinking about the very first
like
thing that comes
we
to
should have
mind.
had Hitch 2 by now.
I was about to say the very first thing that came to mind was Training Day.
I love
And
that movie.
I'm gonna say, you know, and this catches smoke a lot of times from like random people. Training Day was not Denzel's Oscar performance. And
I'm fine if he would have won an Oscar for that too.
for
But he
that to be
should have
his first
won.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but just in general, at the very least, if we were just gonna delay it, they could have gave it to him. Man on Fire.
Yeah.
Man, they not about to nominate no damn Man on Fire for no
But
Oscar.
I mean, there are other movies in the same vein that
he should have already had it for Malcolm X. If we gonna just keep it a buck,
most definitely.
He should have already had it, but they weren't
He could
going
have
to
got
reward that movie.
he could have got supporting all the way back in Glory. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he got support. No, he got supporting for Glory.
That one.
Yeah, he
that
was
right.
supporting.
He didn't have lead. He didn't have lead.
Yeah, but yeah.
And so I mean, but to only have that one at this point, you know what I'm saying? But there again, you're not going to see Mo Better Blues up for nomination. You know what I'm saying?
But even when you in Philadelphia, like that movie is about Tom Hanks' character, but Denzel Washington do all the talking. He's the lead actor of that movie. He's the one who goes through the change. He's the one who does all that. But it's like he friends is boo boo. Friends is boo boo, Mark. Just accept it, and it's cool, man. It's okay to like bad things. I like bad things too, but Friends is bad.
I can appreciate Samuel Jackson's talking about how he never went for the awards because at that point he wouldn't be able to swing around with the lightsaber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like he'd rather focus on the things that he would enjoy.
And at that point, I think it has just like a bigger implication too. I think for quote unquote marginalized communities, right? Because it is one of those things where it's like I just said before, you have to understand how this stuff does matter. Like Oscar winner Denzel Washington is more money, more opportunity. Like you get to you are regarded differently when you can put that in front of your name, because you know why? When they make this trailer, it's not just Denzel Washington anymore. It's Oscar nominated, Oscar winner, whatever, Denzel Washington, Oscar winner, Viola Davis. But even she talks about how winning that award has not raised and given her more opportunities. She's not getting opportunities she basically verbatim was like, y'all call me the Black Meryl Streep, but y'all don't give me Meryl Streep opportunities. So how does that work? She's done all the things. She's won all the awards on multiple planes, from live action to TV to film. And yet, when's the last Viola Davis movie y'all saw? When's the last time y'all heard Viola Davis in an upcoming XYZ? When's the last time y'all heard Octavia Butler cast as XYZ after her Oscar run? Think about how long it took after Training Day before you really started hearing smoke about Denzel again. Jamie Foxx won the Oscar, and his whole team came in and was like, now that you've won an Oscar, you have to start doing completely different movies. Now he playing a homeless man playing the goddamn cello instead of making comedy movies, because this man's a comedian. Or making musicals, but they don't make those no more. So it's like the reviews, they matter to a degree because it does affect trajectory. But for marginalized communities, I feel like sometimes it's like when I hear people like they didn't give such and such no Emmy nomination. Well, to me, it's like, all right, that invalidates the Emmys. For you to not nominate Snowfall one time in 6 years, considering how well that show was actually reviewed, how much that show was appreciated, means you're meaning to tell me you didn't find anything of value in that acting. You telling me 3 dudes from Succession was better than Damson Idris? All 3 of them was better than what he did as the actual lead of the series, and you nominated 3 people from an ensemble cast, technically, because y'all just know how to like game and finagle the system. And so for me, it's like I'm just like I understand the worth that is put into it in terms of making things happen in Hollywood, in the film industry, in the music industry, but I don't put no personal weight on it. Like, you're not about to come to me and be like, this movie won an Oscar. I don't give a fuck. That don't mean I'm gonna think it's good. That just mean a whole bunch of people in the Academy thought it was good. That don't affect me. It don't make me want to go see it anymore.
If I didn't have an interest in seeing it before, it being an Oscar winner is not going to be the motivation to see it now. And it never has been.
Do you know who's on the Academy? Like, living in California really was. It's like, do you really know who's in the Academy? It's a bunch of old white people, low key, that like vote on everything. And then they did the expose where it's like some of these people voting on stuff they didn't even see all the movies. So you just saw the one you liked it, and then you voted for it because you saw it. So there's not even any criteria. It's like, it's not like they make them. They don't get them all in a bus and take them all down and be like, all right.
I mean, has it not always kind of been a popularity contest, though? I mean, at the end of the day, hasn't it always kind of been a popularity contest? And the funny thing is, it's not even a popularity contest in terms of what was most popular with fans. It's not always who made the most money. It's usually if you can get enough buzz around a movie.
And it's just whatever moving and you're shaking and there's marketing, handshakes and all kinds of stuff going on to get a lot of them votes. And
it's whatever movie can get the best lobbying. And
some years the Academy was like, look, man, we tired of black folks talking about this. Let's go ahead, just give it to Denzel and Holly. We're gonna get them, just knock them, just get them both out the way. As long as they do these kinds of movies and
for Monsters Ball. And again, that's like, anyway, that's a whole. You know what?
That's like she was acting good. She was acting good, but Halle Berry. If we go, this will actually be a fun game. Looking at actors and being like, what should their first Oscar have been for? Because her first Oscar should have been for Jungle Fever. That crackhead.
I mean, like, even
if you ain't never seen no crackhead, watch Jungle Fever. Sam Jackson and Halle Berry. That's true to life. But Sam Jackson admitted he had actual experience with that. He could say he was a functional crackhead for many years.
This needs to be a segment. When should have been there first, Oscar?
I know me. If I don't write the note down, I forget who said it. So
our new game.
Note. That's, you know what? I'm good with that. That we'll have to do a spotlight show on that, like first Oscars. And you know what? We'll even let you like pick the actor who. What's the criteria going to be? People who have nominated and lost, or people who have never been nominated? People who've never won?
See, anybody?
Yeah. Wait.
What?
Should be mad at Precious. I'm not mad at
you
Precious.
Know what? There was some damn good acting in that movie, though.
Precious was a necessary story that needed to be told. You need to be mad at the Academy because that's like one of the 3 or 4 archetypal black movies that they will actually award. You got to be struggling. You got to be strung out. You got to be a period piece, but not from a period where black people was doing good. A foot got to be on somebody's neck somewhere. Or it got to be some like crazy, fantastic stuff that'll never happen in real life, like Wakanda.
That's fantastical, but not black people just being rich in the city.
Right. You say, no, I get that because that'll never happen. But Eddie Murphy, Wearing Gucci every day to work?
Monique should not have won. I mean, let me tell you.
Who should have won? That's what I always ask. You say who should not have won? Tell me who should have won instead.
You know what? Because now I'm like, let's do a comparison. Because I know she had no smoke for my Denzel. Like he was good with that one. That was not the film for his Oscar, and he was good in that. I don't dislike the movie Training Day, so don't mistake that part of it. But I don't know. I've been watching Denzel on screen for so long, and it's just like, hell, he should have got it for John Q.
He should have got it for the Hurricane.
Could have got it for the Hurricane. He could have got it for what was it? Pelham.
Taking the Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some options, but you about to make me look up who in that movie Gabriel. Okay, and I would be okay with that as well. I would be okay with that as well. Gabrielle definitely could have,
but they weren't nominated in the same category, were they?
Mariah Carey could have won. See, you had a good argument, and then you said that, and now I'm unsure. But no, I mean honestly, like she's not as bad as all. Like she's had some stinkers, of course, because like I don't know what Glitter was, but you know what I'm saying. Like I think if Mariah Carey just plays what she knows, because she didn't even do that right. She should just sing. She's a good singer, and that's what she should say. Over Monique. You're gonna have to be watching Precious this weekend because I'm like, I don't know about that. I think that was not necessarily a breakout role for Monique. You know what I'm saying? Like she was an established actress at that point, but that was a role, one of those situations where, you hadn't really seen Monique in a role like that. So seeing her like having to pull all that out to be that kind of person, that was essentially her, for lack of a better phrase, a Heath Ledger moment, because that was not the comedian Monique on that screen. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like the version, but okay, so I'm having a whole separate conversation with Mark right now.
She won Best Supporting Actor. Winning Best Supporting Actor, you don't have to be in the movie a whole lot.
I was
a whole bunch of people have won. Didn't what's his name play Hannibal Lecter? He was only in the movie like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he won an Oscar for that.
But the thing is, how much impact did she have in that movie?
Yeah. I just look at it like this.
The whole movie is based on Monique's character. We're following Precious, but everything that's happening to Precious is because, and we get to see the impact that Monique's character had. And that's why she got that supporting role. But that's a sidebar. I made my note. We're going to talk about first Oscar should have been. I know Jeff got a whole nother thought. I got, y'all know I do this shit 4 hours. We're not doing that tonight, okay? We got a good show. We're going to wrap here. Ty, man, thank you for coming on. I've missed having you on. We got to get to talking some more. We got to figure out, and I'm going to go through the notes, and I'm going to find the information on our X-Men. If you want, we can go ahead, do X-Men 1 and 2. Go ahead and get 2. We can get them recorded, and I'll just upload. We won't make it a live show. That way we can finagle our schedules a little bit better.
Okay.
And we'll get that. I'm making our note for first Oscar should have been. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's my little note. First Oscar should have been. And we'll leave it open for now. And if we come up with a better format, by all means, somebody hit me up. Matt, I'll get with you and send you the details regarding Fancasted and exactly how it works. And I'll send you the list if you want to participate in that. You'll have that information. We do this show every Wednesday, folks. This is our show, Weigh In Wednesday. We are a collective of content creators, which is why you always hear me shouting out and promoting everybody for what they do. But we are just a collective of content creators, and everybody, we've all got our own thing. You can follow me, Elder Geek Sam. I am on TikTok. I am on Twitch. feel free to join our group, Grown A Geeks. You can find us on Facebook, and this is where we have all of our fun little discussions. And as you can see, if there's news that breaks, we're probably going to put it there just because that's where we be. But jpnt17.com. Go check out some really cool art. Go check out some shirts. We did a whole little like pop culture flip. It's comic book logos. Check out the site.
Basically, I'm working on the series where I'm taking all black comic book characters and just flipping my tag into those logos. So more to come. I'm just putting out stuff that I like. You know what I'm saying? Some people get it, some people don't.
And there you go. Just a reminder to put it out there to let you see what you can get. We got Miles Morales and Spider-Punk. Check it out. It's
Hobie Brown.
So make sure you check out the website, jpn17.com. You can check out Ty at Whiskalodian. Google search Whiskalodian. That shit comes up. I love it. You can find him on Spotify. That's where I listen. Some great episodes. Find Matt over on TikTok, Gamer Dad Matt, just the way you see it written there. A lot of great takes, a lot of good conversation, and definitely worth a follow if you're on the TikTok. I am Sam. We are Grown A Geeks. This has been Weigh In Wednesday. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. But tonight, we are out of here. Peace.